everyone. I'm here with Kellie and Hollywood casting director Karen Ryan. Hey, Karen, how you doing?
Hi, Kimbra. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being on. So I've known Karen for a little bit now, and I know her husband Robin, and we have a little circle of friends that we kind of do things with, right? Right, Karen?
Gosh, yeah, I feel like we go back ages. I mean,
I
we're
kn-
ages. I mean, not decades, but decade and a half.
That's true. That's true. I think were you in that little theater company with Robin, the Irish something or other? I don't remember.
I wasn't in it, but the Celtic Arts Centre, yes. But
Hmm.
the Banshee was the one that Robin was in, and
Hmm.
but I went to all their shows. Oh my gosh, it was such a great theater company. Loved it.
Right.
I
And
mean, I think we're all missing live theater a lot.
I know, I know. And then you never saw us in the East Hollywood Players, I don't think. Robin and Trish
No,
and I.
that was before my time though. I did see when you come back Red Rider,
Oh
the
yeah,
video version, which you were in.
right, right. I played
Yep.
Angel. I think it was Angel her name. The forlorn waitress.
Right, right. I remember.
um, anyway, so how did you make the segue into casting? Because I know you were acting for a while.
Yeah, funny thing is I was never 100% comfortable in the acting world. I can't even explain it, which is probably why now I love actors and feel I can relate to them in some way, but I really was never, ever, ever terribly comfortable. I did it for a little while, and I would go to castings, and I would think, oh wow, what a cool job that is. I would love to cast. I just thought it was the coolest job in Hollywood. I didn't want to be an agent. I didn't really feel terribly comfortable in front of the camera. In fact, there's a level of discomfort right now. In fact,
I know. I really appreciate you doing this because she
I
told me
know.
that.
It's only because for some reason, I just was never, I knew it wasn't for me. I just knew. I did an episode of ER, just a co-star. And after that, I said, never again. This is
Oh,
absolutely
really?
torture. Can't do it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you
Couldn't
get
do
to
it.
work with George Clooney, or was he already gone at that point?
If you like our videos, go ahead and click on like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
Point.
He was, I think, he was gone at that point. But my husband, the guy that Ray Liotta played my husband in the show. In fact, I always kind of
Wow.
kept the picture. Hold on.
How fun.
The picture. This is so funny. This is from the show. This is a still.
Oh, how beautiful you look.
Oh my God, so funny. Myself and Ray Liotta and our child. Which was such an amazing experience, and I loved it. But I realized after that, and that was 2004, and I realized around that time that I really just didn't. I didn't enjoy the process of everything that an actor has to go through, because it's a lot. And I just didn't like being on camera. I didn't like being that. I just didn't want to be on that side anymore. And so that was probably, I don't know, right after that I was like, I've got to seek out some way of getting into casting. And it was actually my husband that got me introduced me to somebody who needed an assistant on something way
Right.
back 15 years ago. And yeah, 15 years ago actually. And so it started from there. And funny enough, I really love commercial casting. That's my area. That's what I'm comfortable in. More so than like I've never segued into the theatrical side. I've done
Mm.
some theatrical stuff, but I'm so much more comfortable in the commercial side.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what your favorite thing was, and I was going to ask you. So you're answering that question: is it music videos? Is it film? Is it commercials?
I'll tell you exactly my favorite thing. And when I get a job like this, I just jump for joy, because it's not even like a hardship, or it's not even work. Anything to do with comedy and
Yes.
funny actor, anything to do with comedy. And there's a lot of comedy is needed in commercials. Even,
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, and you have to remember that in commercials, a lot of the time there isn't any dialogue. I've done hundreds of spots that have absolutely no dialogue. So it's even more essential to have actors that have a comedy background or a really good improv background,
Right.
because they can elevate the moments just by through their abilities. even, you know, when there's literally nothing to say, but you have to be able to convey the moments and convey the message
Sure.
without actually saying a word. And a very, very, like a well-trained comedy improv person can do that. And I just love when I get to do that. Oh my God, my favorite jobs.
Oh, that's great. I didn't realize that you liked comedy so much, which
Love
brings me to Glasscock Park, right?
Yes.
Which you helped cast.
Oh my gosh, that's the kind of thing that I just adore. So Glasgow Park is a web series that just just dropped on YouTube. And I so honored that I got to do some casting on it. And the whole thing was the concept was by two friends of mine who really just have the most brilliant minds. In fact, they're working on a second show right now, but I love people to check it out. It's on YouTube. It's Glasscock Park web series. Fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
Yeah,
it's
and
really funny, short little vignettes.
It's a great group. Yeah, I have an episode, I think, coming out on Tuesday.
Yes.
From what Trisha's told me. And then Patricia Rigney is one of the writers, producers, right? Along with Kevin. How do you say Kevin's last name? Is it Caro? Kevin Caro?
Wow. You know what? I've never actually used his last name. I could just call him Kevy.
I know. We're always like, Kevy.
I think it's Corral. Yeah, but they're incredible minds. The two of them together just make magic. And it's very funny. So if you like comedy, and we all need a good laugh at the moment.
Oh yeah,
yes.
And Robin's in it. Robin's in it a little bit too.
And Cozy, and my husband's in it, and my dog is in it as well. And so she's got a nice little starring role in the first episode.
That's true. That's true. She was great. I remember that episode.
That was her Hollywood moment, my little baby.
Yeah. Kellie hasn't seen the webisode yet, and I keep telling her we've got to,
you have to. It's so good.
Well, what's the concept? Like, what is it? This recurring characters? Is it a through
it's like some of them are recurring. It's life in a park, like basically all these funny little things that happen in a park. Because it's just taken like a simple concept, like, a park. There's all these interesting characters that come in and out of the park. Some of them are, recurring. And but the first episode kind of flips the idea on its head of the dogs versus the dog owners. And after a couple of seconds, you realize, oh, wow. So the dogs are emulating the owner's behavior and the owners are emulating the dog's behavior. So it's very cute. I mean, I was surprised that I couldn't believe how well they were able to film the dogs behave. Like one of them is sitting there reading a book. My dog is in front of an iPad checking her Instagram. Very cute.
That's funny. Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah. They're developing a lot of stuff, and they're even talking about doing another webisode afterwards.
Yeah.
HOES, Hose.
Well, isn't that amazing what YouTube has allowed us to do now? You can have your own series on YouTube.
Exactly.
We've got our podcasts.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, anything.
Well, here's how it looks. Say this is why it's awesome that we now have those kind of platforms, because for me on the side, on my side of things as a casting professional, I love to see stuff like that on resumes. I mean, people that actually go out and do their own projects or write their own material or just put themselves out there in that way rather than waiting for the jobs to come to them. I think it's really wonderful to see that people can be so creative, and that's a really lovely thing for me to see on a resume.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that you would appreciate that, and that's really nice to hear, because
100%. Well, there's a feeling of, there's a sense that people can, because it's hard work, and you're doing it in your spare time, and a lot of the time people have a million other things going on, and there's a lot of balls in the air kind of thing. And if you can pull that off and then still, act in it, these guys acted, wrote, directed, and edited the whole thing. And there's a huge amount to be said for the tenacity behind that. And if I see that in a resume, I think, wow, this person is really this will be a cool person to hang out with on set all day. Yeah,
good point. Good point. So now that we've had this downtime, are you busy with casting? How are you doing it exactly?
It's the strangest thing, Kimbra, because of course everyone's had to adapt. And every career has been the same. Every person, moms have to adapt with, kids not being in school. And so many jobs have had to adapt. And luckily, with casting, everything can be done virtually. So my business was able to continue for really, I mean, there was the initial close down where nothing was happening, the initial lockdown. But really, I've been casting fairly steadily since last June. Quite a lot of stuff, even out of town. Like I was able to do castings in Texas, in Atlanta, Chicago, all because everything is virtual. Now we do miss being in person and live with actors. That part's a little bit hard, and there's certain things that don't translate well on on a screen that you would wish you could be there in person with the actors. And I think eventually we will, at least for callbacks, maybe go back to a studio setting. But for now, this has been really great because we've been able to continue casting projects and as long as and it's a learning curve for a lot of the actors. It's a learning curve for all of us. But I know that for a lot of the actors, they have to figure out lighting and background, and, getting the right balance of all that and just understanding the system. There's a few different systems. I mean, there's Zoom. There's a wonderful app called Hey Joe that is fantastic. It was a guy that's been in the business here for years, and he developed this app called basically the Hey Joe app, which is like Zoom but specifically for casting. So, and I've done a tutorial. I need to do another one because it's really good. And so there are platforms for actors and for creators and the all of the teams to continue the job and to cast, and it's been great. So that's helped. I mean, we don't really see outside of the four walls of wherever we are day in day out, but it's been at least nice that we've been able to continue our jobs, if that makes sense, and continue to give jobs to actors and
I was going to ask you, now that we're doing everything virtually, what is there any tips you can give actors now? We've all done those classes where it's like, leave this outside, don't do this, so now that we're auditioning virtually, is there anything that you can tell people that want to do it?
Sure. Oh my gosh, lots of little things. There's so many little pointers that you might not even think of, and that really will help. And in fact, I'm thinking about somewhere along the line of, just doing a little tutorial, just for anyone who wants to tune in. I'll set it up eventually at some point. And I know there's some stuff online that you can check out on YouTube, but there's a couple of basic things with Zoom. I mean, you don't want to, first of all, there's certain things that happen with the virtual stuff. Most people would have, say, they'll use their phone or an iPad or whatever to do the call. You typically, if it's on a phone, and this really works as well. This is important as well for self-tapes. So you always want it to be in landscape, not in portrait. Yeah, landscape, because you want to elongate your tape. The visual. Otherwise, there's these two big black lines next to your. It's just easier. And what we normally do is when we first log on with the actor, we'll say, okay, just jiggle your phone, and once you jiggle the phone or the iPad, there's my dog, or your device, it writes the camera. Does that make sense? It just, there's always a couple of moments that you have to figure that out when you first log on. And a couple of other things, you want to fill the space, you want to fill the so you don't want to be sort of down here kind of thing.
Got it. You want your head to be more center.
And another thing is some people, their camera will be too low. Like they'll have maybe the phone or the device, computer, whatever it is, set up on a desk, and they're standing up. If that's the case, then all I'm seeing is up your nostril. You don't want to be. And then there's also the issue with lighting.
Sure.
Ring light, which I don't have. I just have a lamp over there. But the ring light apparently is the way to do it. Just have something that's going to light you properly from behind the device. And, you just be mindful of your light, and you can see your own lighting once you get on Zoom. Like we can see how we all look right now.
Sure.
So all that stuff is important. And there's another thing that I think is kind of funny that if somebody jumps on and they seem a little grainy, I always say to them, do me a favor and just wipe your camera. Just, wipe it off. You never know. I mean, it happens on your phone all the time. Maybe there's a little smudge, it could be that there's a smudge on the camera. Just get a tissue, just clean it down, and you'll be surprised at how much clearer the camera is then.
That's a good point. Clean your camera.
Yes, it's so funny.
I'm taking notes. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, and you know, just angles are important. You know, be centered, or if and we would always, again, as casting professionals, it's up to us to give as much information as possible in advance. So I always tell, when we send out audition notices, I'll make sure that I tell the actors everything I can possibly tell them. I'll say, okay, in the scene, we're going to need you to walk into the scene, so make sure that you have space, that wherever you set your camera up, that there's space for you to walk around.
Mm-hmm.
I would always prefer a neutral background. Sometimes there's, you know, there'll be a scene in the kitchen. It's okay if you're in the kitchen, but 9 times out of 10, just even if you hang a sheet up, you know, just hang anything, just to, you know, because I say, for example, Kimbra, you know, where you are right now, or even where I am, if I were the actor trying to do a scene, all the bits in the background might be a little bit too distracting. So watching it might be going, oh wow, look at that map of Ireland over there. Or, oh my God, look at that. What's in that picture?
Right.
Instead,
so you want it plain as possible.
Yeah. That way that the concentration is on you rather than, oh, what books does she have on her bookshelf?
Yeah, right.
You know, it's giving yourself a chance to kind of make it just seamless. And all, you know, now we can't see as many people on virtually as we would if we were in the casting room. So but the good thing is, you know, because it takes a tiny bit longer to do it all. But here's the wonderful thing about virtual casting. We found that people are never late, because it's not like they're driving around town.
That's true.
And coming late for auditions, and then somebody's late, and then it causes it, you know, there's an
spiral
effect, like a spiral effect, that suddenly everyone's late because we were late with these 2 guys.
Right.
So now, because everybody dials in on time, or if they happen to have something going on, or a dentist appointment or something, I would know that the day before, or in plenty of time to adjust. But that's been really nice, because when we send out the Zoom info or the virtual links, we always say to talent, just dial in at your scheduled time. And if everybody dials in at their scheduled time, the session just runs super smoothly. Oh, I do have another really big tip. Just good. So you know how you have all of our names here, okay? So Kimbra, Kellie, and Karen. Okay. So you know when you're in the waiting room, so we see the talent in the waiting room, and this is how we know who's next, okay? So when I can't believe I threw out all my schedules that I had sitting around. Actually, I might have one here to show you. So when I have one here. Yeah. So here's, you know, when I'm working this, I'm working off of a schedule that I would have, you know, printed out, and here's all my actors. So imagine I'm sitting now. It's one thing at the initial first calls. It's we can handle it, but at a callback, it's not cool. So say, let's call her Rachel. Okay, Rachel dials in, but Rachel doesn't have the name Rachel on her. It doesn't have her full name on her Zoom account or her virtual account, and it's iPhone or Izzle, or, you know, because we've seen it all. Okay, so that would be something I would say. Just always make sure that your name, because when you're sitting in the waiting room, I got to tell my clients, well, I don't know who's next, but somebody is.
Izzle.
And it's a callback. I don't know if it's one of the clients dialing in. I don't know if it's one of my ad agency people, if it's somebody on the creative side that's trying to dial in, and I can't let them in till I figure out who it is. So it's really important as an actor to have your name on the just you know, some people use it for their kids' schooling. Well, then the kid's name will be on it. Well, then you can change it very easily, I guess, in the system.
Right.
So when we log in, we know, oh, Jimmy's in the waiting room and he's you know, next in line. This is great. So it keeps the process smooth and pain-free for everybody. So I don't have to be trying. Yeah, very professional. I don't want to have to guess through iPhone, because it'll sometimes just say iPhone in the waiting room. And I'm going, who could that possibly be?
Right. No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, and also because, especially on SAG jobs, I like to log the dial-in time, you know, the in and out time, really, because it's the same as an Exhibit E that we would normally sign, or we try to at least, you know, keep a record of the timeline. So as you would in a regular casting. So when somebody dials in and I don't know who it is, then I don't know how to start their timeline. Oh, iPhone dialed in at 2:05. Let's figure out. It's just one of
put
those
your
things.
name up there.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of fun things like that, but it's important to just, so we know.
So you mentioned you might do some tutorials. Are you doing any yet? Are you doing any kind of casting classes or anything like that?
Well, I do. I did one the other night, but I do. I would be, I'd go in as a guest speaker. So I went in as a guest speaker with a class the other night on Wednesday evening, just to help with a callback class. I've done classes at AMDA, so I'll go in as a guest speaker. I've not done my own. I have a tiny bit of a plan because I'm so much into I because of my dog, who I absolutely is the light of my existence. I whenever I teach a class, I like to donate the funds to dog rescues, and I have a couple of different ones that I like. So if I do teach a class, I would do it as suggest a donation, just Venmo $20 to the Sean's and Buddies or Barbie's Multi, whoever I do different ones,
right?
So just whoever I feel like is maybe needing a little injection of cash, I'd always be like, okay, let's maybe send the money to these guys.
Right.
I think the class I did do a class for Stage 32. They're a wonderful online platform. I don't know if you guys know them. They have a ton of online tutorials for different areas of the business. So I did like a keynote speech with them, I think earlier in the year, last year. And we just touched upon different aspects of commercial casting. But I think what's needed more than anything now, because there's tons of classes out there, but I think the thing that's more relevant and necessary now is giving people some pointers on self-tapes and virtual castings. So self-tapes, there's a lot of self-tapes happening now too. So, just pointers to help people up their game,
Kellie brought up something earlier. She said, I wonder if Karen has any fun, interesting stories from movies that you've worked on, anything that you wanted to share.
Yeah, when you've done some casting.
Oh gosh.
Any mishaps, funny things that you could share, maybe without giving away anybody.
Without bad mouthing anybody.
Okay. Oh God, I'm pretty sure I've so many. Let me sort of think on it now. Let me think. Oh gosh, there's just so many. I mean, I've worked on such crazy jobs. There's been in some cases where you're just like ready to quit the biz after, but I'm trying to.
You worked on Rush Hour, right? Or one of the Rush
Hours, I was laughing right? When I was looking at your other the link that you sent me. I was like, oh my God, I worked with Brett Ratner, and
I know those are
yeah. My first ever casting job was working. I was like an assistant working on the extras for Rush Hour 3. Oh my God, that was a trip and a half. Yeah, that was interesting. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, I do. Well, okay. I don't know. There's so many different aspects of things that happen behind the scenes that I could share. Okay, because sometimes, a lot of the time, actors don't really know what goes on behind the scenes, and they wonder, why didn't I get this part? Or I thought I did really well in the callback, and oh gosh, I was top choice, and now I didn't get it, or whatever. There's so many things that can happen. I remember one time, this is an example. Oh gosh, it was one of the comedy spots. I love comedy spots. Anyway, the director was like gung ho, wanted this one girl. It was like, she's it. We're done deal. And the ad agency, of course, were, because they weren't aligned. In an ideal world, the director and the ad agency should be very aligned, and the creatives should be very aligned with their choices for the job. If they're not, then that can be troublesome. Right. So in this case, the director fought tooth and nail for this one girl, and the ad agency preferred this other girl. And the director, he was overruled in the end. So in some cases, the director will have enough gumption that he'll overrule the ad agency, but in this case, they overruled him, and he sent an email to everybody with just his middle finger.
Oh my God.
I was like,
that is hysterical. Well, good for him.
I know.
Getting your message across. Well, did the girl that he didn't prefer do okay though?
Oh yeah, I mean, she was fine.
Yeah.
She was also perfectly good. There are so many things that can happen behind the scenes, where I've seen people be booked and then have to be unbooked for various reasons. I'd have to be careful. I don't want to say too much. But
I was just going to say, I know it happened to me once. I got booked on something, and he's my friend. He was my friend, also the casting director, and he said, "Oh, we booked you, blah blah blah," and then he had to unbook me, and it came to a choice of the budget, and he said, I felt like the other girl needed the money more than you or something. And I was like, how would you know?
Yeah.
It was really weird.
There are so many things. It's sometimes that, it could be the director is putting his wife in there, or
right.
There's somebody, what we call those the political. So
right.
maybe somebody within the ad agency might have.
Yeah. That reminds me of my story about, I told you, Kimbra, it was down to me and Alyssa Milano for a part. And
that's right.
It was about a movie about Ma Barker and her sons, and the role was Amarilla or Amaryllis, married to one of the Amaryllis.
Amaryllis, okay.
Like after the flower, was married to one of the Barker boys.
Okay.
And I remember walking, and I was so naive. I was just clueless. Sorry, I remember walking in, and the casting director had told me, now it's between you and Melissa Milano. You got this. Just do a good job. You did a great job before. So I walk in. The first thing they ask me is, "Are you related to Jack?" And my last name's Nicholson.
Oh,
no. I mean, I wasn't, so I wasn't gonna lie about it. But later I realized possibly, that's one of the reasons that they probably did bring me into the finals, even though I was able to do the part, but they probably thought I was related to Jack Nicholson or something. And then Alyssa Milano was also a name. So we were probably the two biggest names that I had auditioned, and, it would have been down to me or her. So
the niece of Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I wasn't related to Jack. So, and then another thing I was thinking of is I worked at William Morris in the commercial agency, a long time ago. It's a completely different company now. But when I worked there, I remember one time, Sally Kellerman, who was a very big voiceover actress, was hired to do, a part, and she didn't show up. So the company she was so big that she could do whatever she wanted. It didn't really matter. They would have held up the show for her all day, which they did. So everybody, it was time for lunch, and they're like, somebody needs to sit here and try to get a hold of her. And I'm like, okay, I will, because it sounded like fun to try to track down Sally Kellerman. So I'm calling all these different numbers that I have for her. And finally I reach her, and she's like, I'm like, Miss Kellerman, did you remember that you have an appointment to do a job today? And she's like, oh, darling, I ran into Ringo, and we've been jamming all afternoon. Star. She somewhere along the way ran into him and was hanging out with Ringo Starr and was having fun. So
oh my God.
That was one of my.
I guess she didn't need the job that much.
Well, here's what happens there, which is, I know, maybe they get to a stage of, fame or whatever, that they feel like they can do that. But what's awful is there's so much goes into putting jobs together, and all the people that rely on everything to work, and the panic that ensues if something doesn't go right. I cannot tell you the level of panic I have on every single job until I know everything's booked and in the bag and done. So many little things that can go wrong. I had a job beginning of the month, last month, after I worked on it all through Christmas. It was extremely stressful. And the night before the 3-day shoot, the client pulled the plug on the job because it mainly because of COVID. They just got spooked. And even though everybody been tested, because they're testing now on all commercials.
Sure.
But they literally got spooked and decided to pull the plug. And they're saying they do want to, you definitely want to film it again or, redo it at some stage.
Right.
But there's such a lot of work had gone into getting it to that point. And, I talked to the producer. I said, are you okay? You feeling okay? She goes, yes, I guess I can sleep in the morning.
Right side.
So much, because there's so much going on. If I couldn't even describe a day in the life of, any of the different areas of the business, I suppose. But I know even on the casting end, there would be some days, and my husband would say, well, how much more work do you have? And I would say, it's not quantifiable. It's not, because there's so much stuff that needs to be aligned. And the problem is, you only have a certain amount of time to do it, because commercials move so fast.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, there's barely time to think from the time the award comes through, which is what, you know, when the job comes through. Usually the timeline, I just did a Hyundai spot. We cast on Tuesday and Wednesday, callbacks Thursday, booked everybody Friday, and they filmed 3-4 days later. You know, like that was in and out. I mean, sometimes, and you know, so it's you're condensing the time in which you have to do things, and there's a lot of things that have to be ticked off the list. That's just my end of it. I mean, you've got to remember all the other things behind the scenes that have to happen with art department, locations, and, you know, filing permits, and so many things that have to come together to make that happen at that time, so that when somebody doesn't show up, oh my God, it's just,
I know. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
I can't believe that, because for me, I'm, you know, I work really hard to get the job, and I make sure I'm early and blah, blah. And then you just find that someone just flakes, you know, you're just like, what?
Oh my. Well, here's the other thing that's happening right now, which is good to know. It's got its pluses and minuses. Every job that probably the last 4 jobs that I've done, we're booking backups for, you know, for all the roles. I had one job had 16 on-camera principals. We had to do 16 backups, and the backups had to be as good as the first choice, because if something happened, because, you know, and there's a certain method they have to do with the testing, and if somebody comes back positive, then the backup gets put in the spot.
Right.
So, but if everything goes fine with the first group, then the second, you know, the backups will just make their fee and not even have to go to set. So, but here's the thing: it's nice in one way that the actors are making some money, but on the other hand side of that, I don't love having to tell an actor, hey, so you are the backup on a huge national spot, you know, where you're just going to get a session fee, and yes, you get a session fee, and I'm sorry you're not going to be. So it's hard to tell.
Double-edged sword, huh?
Double-edged sword, because it's nice, but then it's almost a letdown for the actor. Oh gosh, I'm right there, but I'm not there.
I'm number 2.
Yeah.
But better than getting nothing.
That's true.
True.
That's how I'd look at it. I'd be like, well, I got something.
Yeah.
And I got a little extra money.
Right. And for the most part, they just have to be tested, and they can stay at home. They don't even have to be on set unless they're going to end up in the spot. But usually we would just pay them to hold that day, just in case anything happens with the on-camera talent. It's all COVID related. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I would love to talk with you all day, because I know you have a lot of things to share with us, but I think that you have things to do. You're right. Like take care of the dog. No.
Oh, gosh, my poor baby.
I'm kidding. But maybe you could come back sometime after you've done some tutorials or something. Now that you're got over your camera shyness, you know.
Yeah.
It's funny. Once I get talking, I'm fine. But I'm such a weirdo when it comes to being on camera. Yeah.
Well, we all are.
Some new things. Hopefully our audience, if anybody's, you know, an actor and they learn some tips from you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me, girls.
Yeah, and we will shout out again to Glasscock Park on YouTube, right?
I really want everybody to check it out. It's so good. It's like, and this is why indie filmmaking is the greatest thing in the world. People need to just be aware of all these wonderful things, and people just making it happen. Glasscock Park web series on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Second episode's coming out on Tuesday, and they're just short episodes, like 6-7 minutes, so they're not like not a huge commitment. You can watch your phone while you're
true, good point. And you could just laugh in the middle of your day, like you said. We all need laughter, right?
Yeah, when you're kind of taking a coffee break or something. We all need a little bit of a laugh, and it's wonderful I'm all about supporting. You
are really good about that.
And trying to support people who are doing good work out there, podcasts and all that kind of stuff. This is, just imparting information is a wonderful thing to be able to do. That's true.
But you were even on set with us doing the yoga, remember?
Oh, yes,
weren't you doing the yoga?
The art of Kama.
Right. That's funny. The art of kama.
In other words, like lie down.
Yeah, you got to watch the episode, then you'll get the joke.
Right.
Anyway, well, nice seeing you, Karen. I hope say hi to Robin and everyone. Okay.
I sure will. It's so nice to meet you, Kelly.
You too, Karen. Thanks a lot.
Of course, you guys. Thank you for having me. Now, this is the other thing we always have to do. So when do you exit me out here, or do I?
Yeah, I'm going to end you now.
Ends us all. Cuts us off.
Bye.
Bye, Karen. Bye-bye.